Sometimes dreams are all you have. Life is tough, can get real bad. Hold your vision close at hand. Don't let them...
Welcome everyone here and everyone out there in Cyberland. It's very cozy in the pavilion today. The heaters have created a beautiful environment. Thank you, Juve, and anyone else who came here very early when it was not cozy and turned the heaters on. Thank you so much for that. One of today's themes is hope, and I have selected a few words from Wayne Dyer's book of essays, the book called Wisdom of the Ages. He begins his essay on hope with a quote from Michelangelo, the Renaissance artist, painter, sculptor, architect, and 1864. Under the theme of hope. The greater danger for most of us is not that our aim is too high and we miss it, but that it is too low and we reach it. I like that one.
Gonna get us to thinking.
Yep. So Wayne Dyer said a few words about those words, and this is what he said. He said, "I believe that Michelangelo, who lived a few days shy of 89 years, still sculpting, painting, writing, and designing in an age when 90 was about 60 years beyond the normal life expectancy, was speaking to this idea of having very high hopes and aims in this famous quotation of his. The danger is not in false hope, rather it is in no hope or low hope, and consequently our objectives and aims are diminished by our beliefs before they can be worked on and materialized."
Beautiful.
So my prayer for us is that we continue to remain intimately acquainted with hope, the transformative power of hope. And now we're going to have a beautiful song from our wonderful music team. Everything I Need to Know. Beautiful.
Everything I need to know about what lies before me. Everything I need to know about what lies before me is available to me, is available to me through the mind of God within me. Everything I need to behold about what lies before me. Everything I need to behold about what lies before me is available to me, is available to me through the mind of God within me. Everything I need to be strong about what lies before me. Everything I need to be strong about what lies before me is available to me, is available to me through the mind of God within me. Everything I need to be at peace about what lies before me, everything I need to be at peace. About what lies before me is available to me, is available to me through the mind of God within me. Everything I need to know about what lies before me, everything I need to know about what lies before me is available to me, is available to me through the mind of God within me, through the mind of God within me, through the mind of God within me.
Ooh, thank you. I love that song. Love that song. So now let's join together with saying the prayer of Jesus, translated from Aramaic. Father, Mother, Birther, and Breath of all, create a space inside us and fill it with your presence. Let oneness now prevail, your one desire that flows through ours as energy fills all form. Give us this day our physical and spiritual nourishment, and untangle the knots of error that bind us as we release others. Do not let appearances make us forgetful of the source, but free us to act appropriately. From age to age, through you, flow the glorious harmonies of life. May these words be fertile statements through which our future grows. Amen, amen, amen. Beautiful. So now we've come to one of my favorite parts, is the daily word. I'm very happy. Thank you, Charlene, for printing out my copy. I appreciate it. And today's word is world peace. The affirmation for today is, I envision all people living in harmony. Sometimes I wonder about my place in the world that is changing so rapidly. I realize that many of the world's people may be wondering the same thing. Change can feel scary, especially when I feel as though I have to navigate a shifting landscape alone. I expand my awareness and wonder whether others are feeling the way I do. Feeling fearful or insecure can overwhelm feelings of peace. As peace seems further and further away, it's easy to drift into isolation and discord. I pray, reclaiming peace by feeling my divine identity as a child of God. I remember that all people share this divine identity. I include all the world's people in my prayer, envisioning us coming together in harmony to create a peaceful world. And the Bible verse is, pursue peace with everyone and the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. Hebrews 12:14. Let's all say the affirmation together. I envision all people living in harmony.
I envision
All people living in harmony. Great. So now we're going to have another song, but I want to introduce Reverend Margaret Hiller. She's going to be leading us in our meditation and sharing some great words with us. Okay, so our song is God's Love is Deep Within Me. Is that the right song?
Well, this morning it is I Send My Love.
Oh, okay. Well, that's even better. I send my love. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my power. Send my power over the mountains. I send my power. Send my power over the sea. I send my power. Send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send peace over the mountains. I send peace over the sea. I send peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. And in power over the mountains, I send power over the sea. Send my power into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns over the mountains. Send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. And it returns to me. And it returns to me.
Usually one of you says, and it returns to me. And it returns to me.
Thank you. Now
it returns to me.
Oh, I love that song.
It returns to me.
And I'm thinking of Joyce Ripp, who used to be a part of this community, who wrote that song. So bless you, Joyce Ripp, wherever you are this morning. And bless all of us hearty souls who are out here. I want to tell all those viewing on Facebook, it is warm and cozy in the pavilion. And of course you can see we're dressed for it. I want to thank again John and Gervais for coming out here and getting these heaters going. Gervais was out here at dark 30 this morning. And so we really appreciate that. It's like the old days with the old country churches I used to go to on occasion. Somebody was there early to turn on that furnace, and they were the most important person. So, welcome everybody in person and watching on Facebook this morning. So I appreciate Linda's quote or prayer for all of us that we be intimately acquainted with hope. What a divine idea that we are intimately acquainted with hope. And so as we go into our meditation, I invite you to deepen into the hope of your ancestors, those whose shoulders you stand on, those who you've known in person, and most of whom you have not. And thinking on these things, that we stand on the shoulders of all those who went before us and who somehow maintained hope. It's in our very DNA. It's been passed from generation to generation to, as my father used to say, keep on pressing on. So I invite us all to take a deep breath this morning and listen to the most beautiful, powerful words. It's one of the songs that Sweet Honey in the Rock sings. They're an African-American a cappella ensemble. So please listen to these words from Sweet Honey in the Rock, and let these words take you into meditation. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, sons of great visions. We are sisters of mercy and brothers of love, lovers of life and the builders of nations. We are seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We're makers of peace. We're wisdom of ages. We are grandmother's prayers, and we are grandfather's dreaming. We are the breath of the ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. So as we allow ourselves to breathe the holy breath, we breathe into the vision of these holy words. We are the substance and the evidence of the hopes of our ancestors. We are living into the dreamings and the prayers of our ancestors. And so our prayer could be this morning, let us get this right. Because there's so many prayers and dreamings that we stand on. So this morning we call forth hope. We pray to be intimately connected with hope. And we pray to feel the presence of those around us. The strength and the courage and the hope and the stamina and the peace and the faith of all those who went before us and all those yet to come with whom we're already connected. Today we do our part to be the prayers and the dreamings and the vision for all those coming after us. And we say, so it is, and so we let it be. Namaste. So did you ever think of yourself as your grandmother's prayers or your grandfather's dreamings? Think of all the generations back. I think of what were the dreams and the prayers of those of my ancestors who came over from Scotland or Ireland, or for the ancestors who never left this continent, they were always here. All those who came before us, where did your ancestors come from? Do you know?
Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Paris.
Paris. Italy. Sweden. Where? Scotland. Germany.
Holland.
Holland. Wales. Russia.
Ireland.
Ireland. Africa. India. All the people in America whose ancestors dreamed and prayed and visioned for a better day. And that's what hope is. And that's what we're talking about today and for the next 2 Sundays. I planned this 3-part series because I myself want to deepen into hope. And that's a little inside secret that those of us who teach what we most want to deepen into and learn, right? So the title of the talk for the next 3 Sundays, What's Hope Got to Do with It? And I invited Tina here to sing, but she was already booked. I wonder about hope. What did hope have to do with our evolution? What does hope have to do with our deepening spiritual awareness and presence? What does hope have to do with believing that we can create and be a part of peace in the world? What does hope have to do with it?
Keeps the dream alive.
Keeps the dream alive. Paula Cross. Keeps the dream alive. Charles Fillmore agreed with you, Paula. Charles Fillmore, as you know, our co-founder, he wrote a book called The Revealing Word, in which he defined words metaphysically. And Reverend Marilyn Maddox, right now, for the next several weeks, is doing the Sunday morning circle on Christian metaphysics. So if you want to tune into that Zoom or come here in person, she's deep diving into this idea of Christian metaphysics. So Charles Fillmore, he defined hope metaphysically as simply the expectation of good in the future. Simple. The expectation of good in the future. And by the way, this has to do with while we are still here physically and after we are no longer here physically. We hope for the future of those who come after us, right? That's what somebody did before we came. So the expectation of good in the future, where our grandmother's prayers, our grandfather's dreamings, our ancestors thought about what would be happening in this country for people who would move to this continent and for the ones already here. Some of them had intentions that were good and helpful, and some had intentions that were not good and helpful. So we are grappling with the consequences of all those who came before us, those who dreamed the highest and most powerful dreams for the whole community, and those who dreamed something less. So there's an idea that what we're dreaming and what we're hoping for serves the entire community, else we continue to deal with the sad and sorrowful consequences. Langston Hughes said it this way. He said, "Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly." In other words, our lives become paralyzed if we do not have hope. In the Old Testament book of Hosea, we're told that the children of Israel were promised that the valley of Achor would become a doorway of hope. It was a valley, but they were told that coming into this valley would usher them into the land of hope, to days that would be better. And it seems to me that hope is like that. It's a doorway. We open a door with our hope. It helps us to, again, as my father said, to press on. It helps us to keep moving forward. Your board here often talks in those terms, that we keep moving forward. We do what we can with what we have, where we are, and with the time we have. We keep moving forward. And it's the same way with our spiritual deepening. We want to keep that energy moving in us, do we not? And hope helps us to do that. So metaphysically, Fillmore said, hope is the expectation of good. It's like a doorway. It leads us to peace, to understanding, or as the song says, to brighter days. So one of the most well-known scriptures is on faith, and I bet all of you know it, or many of you. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So for our ancestors, we are the evidence of things that they did not yet see. And someday you and I will be the ancestors who held vision for those coming after us. We are holding vision for the unfolding of humankind, the human family, to unfold and open our hearts and minds to peace, community, compassion, understanding. Because we're finding out to do it any other way causes heartbreak. So, a little bit of quantum physics. Niels Bohr said this: wholeness lies in the quantum form itself. I remember when I learned this in the late 60s in college, learning for the first time about the holograms and the holographic images, and the idea that the complete whole form is within every atom. It's already there in substance. Wholeness lies in the quantum form itself. And so we might think of substance when we talk about faith is the substance of things hoped for. Substance is the quantum level. That's my sign language for quantum. Substance is the quantum level. So when we move into hope, we're working with quantum physics. We're working with the very, very, very essence of life itself to move around energy. In a way, shapeshift energy. So what can be achieved with this idea, the quantum substance? Hope. What can be achieved with hope?
Manifestation of the things you want to be.
Manifestation of the things you want to be. And by the way, it helps when we're building our hope, it helps to be prepared. You know, basic Girl Scout training. I can still tell you the Girl Scout motto. You know, but to be prepared at all times is in there. So, we hoped this pavilion would be warm enough this morning. But we also prepared. We did the test. We got the heaters going. We bought extra heaters. We were prepared. So our hope had substance with it. We are prepared to evolve. We're prepared to deepen into our spiritual natures. We're prepared to open up our hearts and minds to seeing in greater ways than we've ever seen before. We have a hope to lead us through this project out here at Salem Road. We don't see all the details, but we keep deepening into this place of knowing that if we do our part, and if we do our part and we do our best, we do what we can with what we have, we know that we're doing a good job. So here's an idea that comes from a fellow named Norman Fisher. He's a Zen Buddhist teacher. He's written a book called The World Could Be Otherwise. And he talks about a spiritual practice is essential in difficult times. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So, he says, in the most frightening times, we wish the world could be otherwise. He suggests that our imagination helps us to see what's already hidden in the picture. The solution is always resident in the circumstance and the event. He says hope helps us to shape-shift reality. He suggests that if we perfect a few capacities that are already within us, that it will help us to reconfigure the world we live in. So these ideas that he suggests we perfect are these: generosity, ethical conduct, patience, joyful effort, meditation, and understanding. Lofty ideas, capacities that are already within us. He's simply suggesting that we perfect these capacities. I love the one called joyful effort. Joyful effort. Give it your joyful effort. He suggests that these ideas are necessary resources for our troubled times, and that we must generate hope, not only for ourselves, but for all those who come within our sphere of influence, all those that we touch with our energy, our thoughts, all those who come within our presence, whether it's in-person presence or digital presence, the Facebook, the internet, the words, the thoughts that we're putting out there is helping to increase hope or decrease hope.
Rev Margaret?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so actually, if you want to know what that's all about, is vibrate higher. Vibrate the highest, the joyful, the love, the peace. And if you want to know what it feels like, the difference of that, use the opposite. What is the opposite of hope? Hopeless. You say that word, you get the feel, the difference between having the hope
and feeling
being
hopeless.
stopped dead in your tracks with hopelessness.
So how many of us have felt without hope from time to time? So we know the difference between feeling without hope and feeling with hope. So I want to share a story with you that Norman Fisher put in his book, The World Could Be Otherwise. And it's a story that was passed from one Holocaust survivor to another. And it's a story about imagination and hope. So with your permission, I'll read a part of it. Again, this is from his book, The World Could Be Otherwise. This is a story about how imagination changed the world in the worst possible circumstances. It was passed on through the experience of French poet Robert Desnos. Desnos was Jewish, and during World War II, he went underground in France to fight for the resistance. He was captured and sent to the concentration camps. One day, along with many other men, Desnos was crowded under the bed of one of the trucks that transported prisoners from the barracks. The men fully understood where they were going. The trucks always left the barracks full and returned empty. Their destination was the gas chambers and the ovens. No one in the truck bed was speaking. The mood was resigned, eyes lowered, faces grim. The truck arrived. The prisoners slowly and silently descended. The guards, normally full of jokes and banter, fell silent. And this almost religious science, Desnos wrote, was abruptly interrupted. One of the men suddenly jumped up, pivoted, grabbed the man behind him, and thrust his face into the man's hand and said, "I am so excited for you. You have a very long lifeline." And he began to read the man's palm. "You're going to have 3 children and wealth and peace, and it's going to be fantastic and wonderful." And his excitement was so contagious. First one man, and then another and another went forward to have their palms read. "You're going to have children." His excitement was contagious. First one man, then another, each one receiving a kind of prediction for long life, family, beautiful surroundings, peace and happiness, and the excitement spread through the group. Reading palm after palm, the atmosphere, a little drop at first, but then like a big tidal wave, hope transformed the energy of the group. And even more astonishingly, the guards also were affected. Like the prisoners, they had been living a dark hell in which the marching of men to slaughter was a normal and acceptable everyday occurrence for them. But now with this absurd and unprecedented event, this sudden and gratuitous evocation of an alternative reality, the spell was broken. The guards, disoriented and confused, the reality they had been living a moment ago had been somehow suddenly cast into doubt and shattered. Now think about how you might do something like that for someone. They're facing a hopeless reality, and whatever word or thought that you share becomes something that helps them shatter that reality and create an alternative one. They were no longer sure of what was real and what was not. And somehow their better natures took over. For a moment, the Nazi madness that defined their world with grief and guilt and horror was stirred. Suddenly there was vision. They couldn't go through with the executions. So they marched the prisoners back onto the truck and took them back to the barracks. For you to know, Desnos survived the death camps and then did not actually survive the war. He was released from concentration camp but then died of typhus. But he put this story down, and it's been passed around for all these years. And someone asked on a podcast I listened to at Unity FM radio, was the story true? And the way this writer answered that question is, it was passed along as if it were true. But does it matter if we prove the truthfulness or not? The idea is that hope can be created in the midst of where there was no hope. And the reason this topic is so important right now is because you must have noticed many people are losing hope. And many people are choosing suicide as a way to relieve the pain. So I want us to take a deep breath into our prayer consciousness. I'm not passing judgment, and I'm not trying to play God. I know that we are held in the heart of God no matter what we choose, no matter how we proceed with our lives. There's nothing we can do to remove ourselves from the love of the one presence. The idea is a lot of our children are losing hope. A lot of young people are losing hope. A lot of older people are losing hope. So So I want to ask you a very important question, because I've been asking myself this question. This week we heard from one of our community members that they had a family member who made that choice of suicide. So we hold these families in prayer. We hold these souls in prayers. They continue their journey of light. We know that all is well with them. But what if you and I are called to be responsible, to respond to our world right now with making a commitment to be a presence of hope, to do our work, to stay connected with hope? And one of the ways that helps me to do that is I think about how long our human family has been on this journey. How long our human family has been deepening and learning and remembering who we are. And I wonder if we might look at this as a spiritual calling to be a keeper of hope, an architect of hope, a designer of hope, a speaker of hope. I wonder if we might consider that part of our life calling is to help generate hope for ourselves and others. I wonder if that is a part of our calling. And I think, when Ron Days came here to speak, he's a cultural interpreter for the Gullah Geechee culture, and I asked him that question. I said, please include in your talk how hope was maintained through generations of slavery. How was hope maintained? And of course, his biggest answer was, draw close to spirit. The spiritual deepening of us remembering that we're eternal spiritual beings. A moment of difficulty, a moment of heartbreak, a moment of tragedy is a moment in a huge eternal journey that we're all on. It helps me to remember that. Here's what Anne Frank said in her diary. She said, it's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem to be so absurd and impossible to carry out. She was a young teenager. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I want to feel that when I am in consternation about some of the things I read or see in my human family. I want to keep believing that people are good at heart. I want to keep knowing and hoping that the goodness of my heart comes forward even more, and that the goodness of the hearts of humankind keep coming forward. That goodness may be hidden in some cases. My hope and my calling and your calling is to help keep that hope alive. Not literally, but energetically, reading for people what's possible for them. You don't have to grab their hand and start reading their palm. But to say something that gives courage and hope to someone. Your light is shining so brightly. I know that your life is having a positive impact on others because your light shines so brightly. Simply saying that to one another. Because one of the things that people say to me often, well, not as often as they used to, is, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. That's what I hear in one form or another from folks sometimes. When we talk about calling, people say, I don't know what my calling is. To that, I say a professional pshaw pshaw. We do know what our calling is. We do know. We do know what our calling is. We're called to be a message of hope, a message of peace, a message of love, a message of forgiveness. Whatever religion, whatever culture, whatever place we are, we're called to be that. I was listening to NPR last week. A woman in a Syrian camp in the tent with her 4 children, and the interviewer said the thing that struck her most was all the laughter in this refugee camp. And the mothers have made a pact that every day they will do something to bring laughter and joy to this bizarre situation that they've been living in for years. To bring joy, to help the children remember to laugh, to find some hope in every day, to find something that brings them peace. That's their goal. Well, could that be our goal too? To every day find something that helps us to deepen into joy, but also helps other people to deepen into joy. Every day find something to help us deepen into hope, and possibly help someone else deepen into hope. How do I know we can do that? Because one of the phrases I hear from people sometimes is, I've lost hope. Sometimes I hear people say, I think it's too late. Whether they're talking about themselves or their lives or their country, this country. So Paula said it earlier. She said, feel the difference between hopeless and hopeful. Feel the difference when we are feeling without hope and the feeling of when we have reconnected with our hope. We have that choice. And I want to say to young people, don't give up. There was a song years ago, I can't remember the group, but I just loved it. Don't give up. You've got the music in you. Do you remember that song?
That's the New Radicals.
The New Radicals. 1998, okay. Don't give up. You've got the music in you. And that's such a wonderful message. Don't give up. You've got the encoded message of peace and hope and love in you. Don't give up. You've got the very DNA of Christ consciousness within you. You've got the very DNA of love consciousness within you. Don't give up. You've got the music of the spheres in you. Don't give up. You've got the hope of glory in you. I want to keep pondering this idea of hope, and I hope you will too. I used to think that hope was kind of a watered-down faith, and that, what I was really after was to get to the faith. But it seems to me hope is the instigating factor that takes me to my faith. Hope is the instigating factor that helps me keep moving forward. Hope is the substance. It's what we're working with. It's the quantum level substance of manifestation. And if we know that, and we know that we are designers and speakers for this hope, we're funnels for this hope, then that's a part of our life calling. It's part of our spiritual calling. Don't give up. We've got the music of hope in us. And so it is, and so we let it be.
Thank you, Rev Margaret. Thank you for reminding us of our connection to the hope of our ancestors. That hope is the essence of life, the manifestation of everything. And now I would like to ask Gervais Phillips if he would come up and do our offering for us today. Gervais, thank you.
I say hope is where dreams begin. If you don't have any hope, no dreams happen. And then once you have the dreams happening, you can have plans. And once you get some plans, pretty soon goals happen. And soon manifestation takes place. And, so I'm going to ask you to take your tithes and offerings and hold them in your hand. Whether you're here, whether you're at home. We missed last Sunday, so we need to be doubling up. And some of you are able to give lots of money. Some, like me, have to give it kind of in small increments, but regularly. But we're getting ready to put a new roof on this pavilion, probably this week or next week, and a new roof on the house. And we had a great contribution toward that. It cost about $15,000. So that's some money that we need to have to keep going. And so let's just take this tithes and offerings and hold them in our hand and give our blessing to them. Thank you, God, for the blessings of life, the blessings of hope that come through us day by day. We are so blessed in so many ways. And we're blessed to be here in this pavilion, to be warm, and to enjoy this time together. Thank you, God, for the opportunity to give and to receive. And so it is. Amen.
Okay, and we have a song.
Brother, I need to talk to you. This might sound strange, and you probably think I'm crazy and I've lost my mind. Okay, I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I'm a miracle, a dream come true. I'm marvelous, I'm beautiful, guess what? So are you. People, it's becoming here. I can feel it down in my soul. I know that I am you, and you are me. Oh, and I'm grateful for the simple things that we take for granted every day. I can walk, I can talk, I can use my mind, okay, and I'm amazing, I'm incredible, I'm a miracle, a dream come true, and I'm marvelous, I'm beautiful, guess what, so are you. That don't mean we're better than anyone or anything. It's a call to come together and accept responsibility and be amazing, be incredible. You're a miracle, a dream come true. You're marvelous, I'm beautiful, guess what? So are you, guess what? So are you. Kev Mo.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Ben, for being out here. You just add so much to it. You make it happen. Thank you. Let's give our final blessing to this offering as we see it going into this ministry, doing its perfect work, and then returning to each giver, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together so you can give more. You can enjoy life more and experience the hope that comes with living fully day by day. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
Announcements.
Hey, y'all, I'm sweating. Just for all of you to know who stayed home today in your little bedroom slippers, bathrobe, and jammies, it's warm out here. So we got the pavilion warm. Yay. So we have a few things coming up. Next Sunday, I will be speaking on hope. What's hope got to do with it? Maybe Tina will be here next Sunday. I don't know. We've got our next social justice dialogue getting ready to happen. It starts this coming Thursday, February 3rd. It will be by Zoom. It is on this 1619 project. There are several books out about it. And I've also just ordered the children's book about the 1619 project called Born on the Water. This is an important social justice dialogue. I was trying to think back to the first one we had. I think it was probably in 2011 or 2010 at the old church. Isaac Bailey was our facilitator. And they've all been deepening. They've all been important. They've all been powerful. And I am expecting this one to be the most powerful. And I thank ahead of time the courageous people that will be in that Zoom room. Our facilitators will be Reverend Dr. Rob Fullwood, Reverend Marilyn Maddox, Reverend Ruth Littlejohn, and Darylyn Alexander. I will be in the Zoom room, and I hope you will be too. The information about it is back on the back table on a flyer, and also in the February month at a glance, which is also on the back table, tells you what's going to be going on in February. If you want to be a reading tutor at the Boys and Girls Club, I sent in my application, and I'm waiting to hear back from Dr. Bailey about that. But if you want to be a reading tutor, the guidelines are back there, and you're most welcome to do that. The prayer box is on the back table. You can also submit your prayer request online by email. And this week, I want you to know that as a part of our church giving, the donations that this church sends out to for our charitable giving, your board voted this week to send money to Help for Kids and to South Strand Helping Hands because of the food shortages and food-deprived children in Horry County. So your church has donated. If you would like to also donate food, you can take food to them directly, non-perishable food. I think that's it for our announcements. Did I forget anything? Okay. We are going to do our updated prayer of unity, and then we are going to do our peace song. And so our updated prayer of unity, inspired by James Dillett Freeman. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the presence of love enfolds us, the power of peace protects us, and the one presence that lives within all creation enlivens us. Wherever we are, love is, peace is, light is, God is, and all is well. And as Carlotta Scott just wrote on the live stream comments, keep hope alive. So that's our homework for this week, keep hope alive. Now let us stand for our peace song, and we sing it like a prayer because that's what it is.
stay.